There's so many different ways of keeping on top of industry news, whether that's subscribing to free news feeds like sportbusiness.com, obviously following individuals, whether that's following sports journalists, the major sports journalists, because not only are they talking about what's happening on the field, they're also talking about the business off the field, more and more so. So that's an easier way of looking at things. And also, again, just that general search. So I think social media and having, subscribing to a number of news feeds is a great way of staying on top. Networking is incredibly important in terms of building any career. But I guess you could look at it in a couple of ways, because you could argue for those who are not working in sports and haven't got a network, well, how do I network if I'm not in sport, versus those who are in sport and we know where events are taking place, or whether we can engineer networking events or going to different conferences. But absolutely speaking to people in the industry, going out there, saying hello, not being afraid to go up and start a conversation where you're an experienced individual, because you're always meeting people for the first time, continually, whether you're starting out or whether you're 20 years into your career. And going up there and asking, having something interesting to say to kickstart a conversation. So networking opens up so many different opportunities. So incredibly important skill to develop. Getting that first interview is difficult, and of course it's something to potentially stress about, and a lot of people do, in terms of one, getting an interview, and also then maybe an upcoming interview. But I think it's proven, particularly in the way that we operate now in this digital landscape, is that everyone's got a voice, and everyone can create a voice and have an opinion. And if you're that way minded, there's no reason why you can't start talking about sport business through your own channels. In terms of getting an interview, getting interviews are hard. But hopefully what we're doing with Sport Calling will give you the tools and the ammunition to be one, better placed to try and get an interview, to know where to go to try and find out where there is job opportunities or training opportunities, but also then help you with having the right things to say and that knowledge and that expertise. When you think about what people are looking for in candidates, there's so much discourse on, what's the right candidate? Is it about who they are as an individual, or is it about their experience? Obviously, the truth is it's a combination of all those things. Certainly for me, I do look for the passion that comes across when you meet somebody, regardless of what they've done. Has that individual got that passion and that energy and that wants and that creativity and that instant connection that actually you can get on with this individual? The second filter then, of course, is what has that individual done? And the challenge, of course, is when you're graduating is that, well, actually, I've done very little in terms of professional career. But there are things that you can do, from volunteering to being involved in sport, to even if you've managed your local team and played in sport in some capacity, and you've done something a little bit different. So those differences make your CV stand out. The interesting thing about sport, it's global. So you don't necessarily need to be in London or New York or Hong Kong. If you look at now, if you're in sport business, you know that actually the HQ of a lot of the big global sports federations is in Switzerland. You wouldn't have thought for a second why Switzerland, but actually if you look at how sport has grown, is that every single sporting federation or rights owner or provider is around the globe. So there's so many different opportunities. Of course, the big urban centres will naturally attract a big industry, but it's not a precursor to be living in London or to be living in Hong Kong or to living in New York. There's so many different routes into sport.